Susan Smith is up for parole, and she thinks she's going to be walking right out the front door of that prison, and she has lined the men up to take care of her. And we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. The sofa, as you can see, is gone and the set is different. Well, that's because I'm at the beach visiting family, and I am in my little area here. Isn't the little fish thing with the little lights cute? Anyways, so I'm here. There's going to be probably different noises going on. I don't know how that part's going to work here. I know the AC is going and whatnot. So hopefully it won't interfere too much with the video that we're going to be doing today. And the video that we're going to be doing today is this recent headline with Susan Smith. And I chuckle because it's the audacity for me. One thing that you have to give her is credit for consistency. Girl's narrative and her MO never changes, okay? And that's usually working some man over for something, right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk very quickly and actually look at a few clips to kind of remind us of the absolute heinousness of the crime that she did. And then we're going to talk about an article that came out. It's from the New York Post, and it is about a lot of these dudes that she's been talking to over the past few years in preparation to get out, and her kind of working them over, doing what she's got to do. Susan Smith is Susan Smithing, okay, is what it comes down to. But like I said, let's first talk about how we arrived at this video. So just a real quick background, like a 60-second overview of the crime before we look at a few clips from when this occurred. So this is 1994. Susan Smith was the mother of two sons. We had 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alexander. Now, she will be convicted of drowning them in her car in the South Carolina lake. She would blame this on a black man that had kidnapped her sons during a carjack. Now, finally, once the truth came out, she would still not take accountability. She would try and say, something was wrong with her mentally, this type stuff, the whole 9 yards. Well, during trial, the prosecutors basically alleged that she was dating this dude who didn't want kids, or she was seeing this dude having an affair or whatever. She was very notorious for that. And so this was basically her answer for, getting with this guy, was to get rid of her children, get attention, that type of thing. Now, obviously, none of that really, did the job, right? She ended up being convicted of the crime, which is exactly what needed to happen. So that's a very quick overview. We could go into it deeper, but this video is not meant for that. So what I want to do now is look at a few news clips of that time. But let's first start off with a very quick snippet of her on TV before she was found out to have done this herself. Like, she's still keeping this ruse up that, oh gosh, I pulled up to the stoplight and this random black man came up to my car and carjacked me. She is one of the, I don't want to say founders of, but in the, like, if you want to do a top 5, top 3 people that blame another minority, things like that. The other person that comes to my mind is Sher Pini with her 2 Hispanic women kidnapped me. This is a very cheap shot, a very low blow narrative that people who commit these crimes will do to incite fear from, the public of like a perceived, oh gosh, this vilified person is out there doing all this stuff, and it's absolutely disgusting on top of the crime they're already committing themselves, and then trying to blame it on somebody else. I guarantee you, if they had found random black guy and said, Susan, here's this lineup, whatever, oh, she would have somebody sitting in prison right now for her. 100%, no questions asked. I would venture to say Sher Pini would have done the same thing.
Your mama loves you so much. And your daddy, this whole family's love you so much.
Yeah, it's bad, okay? You can look up the whole interview or whatever if you want to go down the rabbit hole of it. I'm talking cringe. Looking back on it, because I remember this happening. I remember watching this unfold. And, back then you have to remember, we didn't have the stuff that we do now. You know what I'm saying? Like, when this happened, this was on TV. Like, so for something to blow up to where the world is like, what? It had to be bad, and this was that bad. And then the fact that she's up there doing all this pitiful crime, because looking back at it now, it's so obvious that she's faking it, right? So obvious. So let's look at another clip very quickly. This is going to be her and her ex-husband. Now remember, she put him out there on Front Street because he's standing by her side at first. Of course, you would expect your person to, whichever one of the situations being alleged to have taken the life of their children, you're going to expect your spouse to stand by your side, and that's what he did. But obviously, it was misplaced or whatever. So that being said, let's look at this quick clip.
I know right here what the truth is. I can see from their side why they have to do the things they have to do. But the Lord and myself both know the truth. I did not have anything to do with the abduction of my children.
I mean, brutal watch. I'm talking, whoa. Okay, of course you had to bring up the Lord and myself. We know the truth. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, this is what I'm talking. Just play this at the parole hearing. Okay, just that's all you gotta do. Now the husband has said that he is going to be vehemently, as he should, against the parole, right? Because, and we'll see when we look at the article we're gonna go over, she ain't learned one thing. She ain't learned one thing, okay? It's just another Tuesday afternoon for Susan. I have no doubt that she's tired of being in prison. Anybody would. Doesn't matter what you did. Doesn't matter how guilty you are. We're all human, right? We would be tired of it, right? She has made nothing. This was a callous thing that she did. This was not a mental health thing. This was not anything like that. This was not an Andrea Yates. This was not anything of that nature, right? This is evil to the core. Let's watch a clip now of when the press release comes out and they're like, guess what? What we all thought happened didn't. It was actually Susan. Listen to the audible gasp in the background.
Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children, Michael 3 and Alexander 14 months.
Gives me goosebumps. Gives me, you know what it reminds me of also? If you watched, if you followed the Letitia Stout trial, when they announced the same type situation and people gasped when they, I mean, we kind of saw that one coming a little bit, gasped when they talked about she's under arrest is what she did. Same thing here. You got to remember too with this was a little bit different. This woman comes up here doing her little tears talking about, I put up to the stoplight and a black man came and kidnapped me or carjacked me and took my son. And I'm going to get up here and do my little tears for everybody to cry and blah, 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 blah. I mean, y'all, and this is in South Carolina. Imagine how that went over, right? So you already know, okay? Please. The way, whatever. Okay, so you already know this is not good. Okay, she's up here doing her little role, playing her little game, peddling her little lies. Literally the world, it was like the world stopped. It was like, huh? And we already know locally people are out searching. They're trying to do whatever they can, okay? Thank God no innocent man was like mobbed or killed by locals. You know what I'm saying? Like her pointing the finger like, oh, he did it, whatever, because it would not have been good, y'all, okay? I mean, people were PO'd. You just don't, you kidnap, you carjack somebody with 2 kids in it. I mean, come on, right? So when this came out and then the details of what she did to, it gives me goosebumps. Those little boys, pure evil. In fact, let's listen to the lawyer who talked about remembering back to what this case was all about type situation and just have him recount how impactful this was on him, on the community.
I went down for one, obviously to see what was occurring, but 2, so that later on, if I got tired or I got worn out and, didn't want to proceed, I'd remember what it was about. And so what I saw that night was a car pulled out with the 2 boys still in the car seats. I saw grown men crying. And again, I think it was as much of the tragedy as the heartbreak, because people have been searching for those kids. People have been searching for those carjackers, working, hoping to recover those kids.
Again, I mean, I can remember, the pictures are so vivid. You don't forget something like that. And that's just watching on TV. Can you imagine being down there? And imagine being the husband, the ex-husband now, the father of those two boys. You've been on TV holding her hand, and there's already tumultuousness. Like if you've researched this case and like read the books and stuff like that, like there was a lot going on behind the scenes. Okay, very on again, off again with those two. She was all over the place, you know. So, but he's on there holding her hand. Let's get our family back. Let's find our boys. Let's do this. Da 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 da. And then this comes out. Okay, so again, that being said. Fast forward to today, whatever today is for you, today for me is July 4th. Happy July 4th day if you celebrate that. If you're here in the States and whatnot. So it is July 4th here when we're going over this. She's got this upcoming parole. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing an article now by the Post. They were able to obtain some, basically insider tea, let's call it. Okay, we'll call it insider tea. Of what Susan is doing preparing for her parole, how many men she's working over, this, that, and the other. One of the things with Susan that you have to keep in mind is that, and when I say like ain't nothing changed here, Susan has had a notorious history while being incarcerated of tumultuousness, let's say. She's gotten men fired for having affairs with officers or guards, whatever you call them. Jail prison ain't slowed her roll a bit. Might have accelerated a little bit. So she's got men on the phone, she's got officers, she's got this, she's got that, probably got girlfriends. I mean, she's working it, okay? So, like I said, we're going to be reviewing this article, and I'll put it up on the screen here. And this first one is just the headline of it. You see here, that mom, Susan Smith, is preparing to get out of prison. She's giving a phone, you see that, to sugar daddies who want to take care of her, okay? It's by Steve Helling, it looks like. Again, this is the New York Post, published July 2nd, 2024, so you can Google this if you just want to read the whole thing yourself. Now let's go on and get into the first little snippet that I pulled out. So it does say here that her first parole hearing for her life sentence is November 4th. She has spent the past few months convinced that she could be getting out, family members have said. As a result, she's hard at work finding sugar daddies willing to bankroll her life on the outside. Can we please just pause for a second? Oh my gosh, y'all. I cannot. It's like it just writes itself. It's just the absurdity for me, okay? Now let's continue. And the 52-year-old inmate is not above engaging in a little phone you-know-what to lure them in, according to family sources, and South Carolina prison call recordings reviewed by the Post. Okay, let's move on to the second thing, but before we do, I just sit here and think, like, with these dudes that she's doing this with, and we'll get a little bit deeper into some of the conversations that she's having, and I'm just like, I don't, like, just that alone would be such a turnoff. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't like she's in there for something lesser than what she did. Like, pretty much anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, a little shoplifting habit, a little drug habit, a little whatever, right? The heinousness of this and knowing that she did that, why? It's such a turnoff, right? I don't get it. It's like, even if you were just going straight, like these dudes, if they are attracted to her based on looks or whatever, like she's their gig, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I can't wrap my mind around it, but I don't think I'm meant to. Okay, let's keep going. Now, here's the thing. I might actually put this on the thumbnail if you're watching it. Her quote, "It's time for me to get out," she told one suitor earlier this year in a phone call. "I've done my time. I'm ready to go." Now, listen, and like I said, I'm sure she's ready to get out. Anybody would be. Doesn't mean that she should be. Now, let's keep going here. So it says there, in March, conversation with one suitor, she asked him how she could support herself. We'll do another article that gets a little more in-depth into this, but we'll go for this one for now. He told her that she's got a large nest egg waiting for her. She's paroled. A combination of funds from the sale of the family property, gifts from admirers, and money that he has saved up. So he's got her covered. Her fans, remember Sarah Boone talking about fans? She's probably looking at Susan Smith like, well, Susan's got You know, she's got a little nest egg. Maybe I can give me a little nest egg, right? So it gets into a little more depth about the money we're talking about here. Now remember, she's 52 years old, so keep that in mind. Okay, I'll tell you what I did last night thinking of you, the caller told Smith. I made a spreadsheet. Starts off with 213 grand. You're going to have more than that. I think you'll be more in the 220 range all put together, okay? The man continued, you can spend 40 grand a year. While you're withdrawing from that balance, it's still earning interest on the undrawn amount, okay? That's called mathing. In 20 years' time, you would have spent most of that, he said, but you will still have saved some of it left over. Now, after a short pause, Smith sighed. I love you so much, she said. I love you too, baby, he replied, before they began to make kissing noises to each other. I mean, y'all, okay, I cannot. Okay, first of all, let's just pause for a second and do a little bit of mathing. So let's pretend she has $220,000. She's talking about 40 grand a year. 40, 80, 120, 160, 200. It's 5.5 years based on his thing. It's still, and like he said, it's still, collecting money, whatever. I'm trying to figure out how that would work, because you see how expensive it is to live, right? Now maybe this is him talking about, you don't have to work, I'll pay for your place, you take out 40 grand a year, I don't know. I just feel like that wouldn't really cover your living expenses for that long, even if you live cheaply. So even if you went down to 20 grand a year, you know what I'm saying? And again, say she got out, I don't see it happening. How, you think Casey Anthony's unemployable? Susan's got the conviction, okay? Casey was technically not guilty, okay? She's still having issues, all right? You can read between the lines on that one. So let's go on to the next thing here. Okay, it says the conversation then turned, well, you know what, dirty, okay? Complete with giggling and heavy breathing. I'm going to have you in the front seat of my car, the man said, after speculating what she'd look like in a wet t-shirt. You're so bad, she responded with a giggle. I have some ideas of things we can do, but I'm going to make you wiggle and squirm before I tell you. Babe, he said. Oh, baby, I'm already wiggling. I'm already squirming. I cannot. Can you imagine the jail people who listen to these phone calls? I would have been like, girl, get on over here and listen to what Susan's talking about this week. Again, this hour, right? She's doing this with numerous dudes. We'll get into my opinion on why one of these dudes think that they're special. I think it's definitely a mental type thing to look into. Let's keep going. And here it says, this man's not alone. She's been carrying on that type and romantic conversations with at least a dozen dudes in the last 3 years. And then it says in another conversation with a different guy last year, she speculated how she would wake him up in the morning. I have ways to get your attention, she teased. I can get you up in the morning, and I mean up. Oh my God, y'all help me. We've got a little visitor here. We've got a little Coco visitor. I just bopped her on the nose, sitting here talking with my hands. See, don't do that, please. I don't like that. Thank you. Okay, I'm going. Now, the biggest thing that I wanted to put up here in this secondary article is towards the end here, where it says she previously told one of her suitors during a phone call last year that she would welcome the idea of being a mom again. Now, and another thing, I think it was Jessie Weber on that little clip we watched. I think it was his interview where they were talking. She was talking about how she would be a good stepmom. And, I think what he said was something to the degree of can they, in Parole, look at that dynamic? Because basically, that's the last thing. You know what I'm saying? This woman needs to be, getting out of prison and going and doing, right? Look at the crime, okay? And so, plays. Now, the people who I looked at in the interviews, like Jesse Weber, people like the professionals, okay? The credentialed professionals, okay? They might have sofas, but they also got credentials. We don't got the credentials here. Okay, well, hell, we don't even have a sofa today. But usually we do have the sofa, no credentials. However, it doesn't take credentials to literally be like, this woman never needs to see the light of the day. Here's the thing, you can sit here and look at these scenarios, and some people might create these heinous acts and then change behind bars, and maybe their mission in life is to, I don't want to say minister, but whatever from behind bars, right? This person is still, what do you call it, manipulating, using, doing her same MO. If life got tough, you don't know what direction that would go in, right? She's still doing this to guys. This dude here talking about, I've saved money, she's doing this to numerous guys. She has no care for anybody else. She's gotten people fired because of her affairs with people working there. Now, I'm not trying to say that these men didn't make incredibly stupid decisions to get involved with her. And like the one dude said, he was like, I can't, when he recounted his experience having an affair with her and getting fired, I think he might have caught charges. I mean, it's illegal for these officers. And I'm not saying that these particular people are officers. I'm just looking back at the crime she's essentially continued doing from behind bars. And they always involve a man in some kind of like, relationship or whatever. And so there's no difference here. My prediction is if she were to get out, which I do not think she would, whoever this is, she would just work them over. She would get in their house. She would, drain them of money, be seeing other dudes behind their back, and just kind of start this cycle over. Now, would it end in, the same way that we saw her first situation did? I mean, who's to say? Because again, it's like she hasn't really changed that dynamic of her personality where men and access to them and working them over like this is kind of at the forefront of her situation. I mean, those little boys, as far as my opinion goes, are not here because she was dating somebody who didn't want kids. Now, she was also, again, there's a book out, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I mean, when you go down the rabbit hole of Susan Smith and her past and whatnot, I mean, y'all, in open court, her stepfather, I think it was, admitted to having, a situation with her, forced and then not forced. So I don't doubt that she probably, in younger years, suffered something and then became the person who inflicted stuff onto other people and whatnot. Clearly she was willing to do this to her boys, over a man, right? So, do I think that she'll get paroled? Absolutely not. There's no way, right? There's no way. I mean, even if it was like she has personally handheld saved 15 people's lives, including the warden behind prison, she's a changed woman. It's like, no. It's like a political thing. You don't go on TV talking about what she did, having strapped those little boys into car seats, drove her car into the thing, and then expect to get parole? I've done my time? No, honey. No, you haven't. Far from it. And again, what you've done is you're still manipulating men over. This is just what we're hearing here. The people, trust me, and I don't know what they're called, but it's like the people who like review those phone records, like the people who, I don't know what they call that, but the people that work at the jail that listen to that stuff, right? That monitor or whatever. They heavily monitor her. I mean, just for pure entertainment at minimum. They probably are just like, if these walls could talk. Like the guards that work her unit and stuff, again, if the guards could talk, they probably have God knows what to say about her. Right? The ones that aren't sleeping with her. It's icky all over. And at the end of the day, at the center of it, these two little boys, can you imagine that's your experience here on Earth? You've come here, you're not even, these were little babies, right? And the woman who is your mother, your protector, your guardian, the way that, you're supposed to be able to look at that figure in your life, does that to you. Like those last moments when that water is, it gives me goosebumps. it's just the imagery, the haunting part of it, and then again just the way she lied. Anyways, this case infuriates me, obviously, and maybe it's because I remember it going down. I mean, I was in high school, but nonetheless, it's like I remember the shock of it. And just even then, like, because like being like a dumb teenager where nothing phases you, like this was like, what? I mean, just like, whoa, okay, like you just remember that moment in time, almost like the OJ chase, right? Like we just remember the world stopping and watching that white Bronco, okay? It's what it is. So I would love to be a fly on the wall to see the look on her face when she gets the denial, to see if she's honestly shocked. Right? Or if her family members have like gassed her up to actually think she's gonna get out. Okay. She's lucky she didn't get the DP. Okay, because again, we're talking Bible Belt, South Carolina, and I'm not insulting that, I'm just stating what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like where probably somebody didn't feel right doing the DP and that's their choice, I get it. So she got life behind bars. So she's lucky to still be here is what I'm getting at. So anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I mean, again, I hope they play the phone calls. I hope they play her doing her BS lies, trying to throw some random man underneath the bus, lying up there on the thing, crying up there on the thing, and then I hope they play this. I hope they play the interview of the dude who caught charges, the guard who had an affair with her. I hope they play all that stuff and then just let it sit with the parole board. You know what I'm saying? Just like it'd be like after that, be like, Miss Susan, you got something to say? No, not a damn word. You have humbled my ass. I will go right back to the cell. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't even. You don't. Y'all are good. Sorry, I wasted your time. Right. So, anyways, that's it. I do appreciate y'all. Let me know what you think down in the comment section, and drop some sofas off for me, Roscoe and Spirit. And well, Coco says she wants to come hang out too. You want to come hang out in the comment section? Say yes, but I don't know what to do about the comment section. Well, we'll all show her. And until we do all that, until we meander down there so we can show her what to do, we'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. Also, if you're looking for merch, be sure to check out my Teespring store. I'll put that up here. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.